So we're going to start with what is the easiest way to increase profit within our business. And the first area that we're going to cover is increase prices. Okay? When I speak to clients about increasing prices, most of them look at me and go, why would I do that? I'm going to lose clients. I'm going to scare my market. I'm not going to be successful. Well, the reality is pricing is very powerful, but there's a reason why we're worried. Like when we increase our prices, the worry is that people are coming to you based on price and they're not buying based on value. Okay. Now, if you're selling a commodity item, that's fine. People may well be buying on price. But if they're buying a service, and I think all of you, bar none, are offering something over and above a commodity, well, actually, people are buying value from you. They're going to exchange money for value. Okay? So the first thing we're going to talk about, and here comes some maths, we're going to look at misunderstood pricing. All right? I'm an engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer, so I sell widgets. Widgets are great in engineering businesses. You guys are all service businesses, but let's just say you sold widgets. If it was £100 worth of materials and £75 of labor, the cost of goods sold is £175. So if I wanted to make 35% profit on each one sold, that's what I would do. Is that right? Well, let's go and check, right? I can't have a presentation without using a little bit of AI, right? So we're going to ChatGPT. It says, yes, you're right. Right? To get a 35% profit margin on cost of goods sold of 175, you'd sell it for 236.25. Here's the problem. If I was to work it backwards, which is what I suggest my children do when they do their maths homework, work it backwards to see if you've got the right answer. What you find is that actually the gross profit is £61, which is actually only 26%. All right? You with me? But I promise you that unfortunately is correct. And so when a business owner works out their pricing and thinks that multiplying it by 1.35 is the way to do it, unfortunately, it's incorrect. Okay? And in fact, if you were looking at it, you're only now generating 75%. So 26% of 35 is only 75%. So in order to calculate the price correctly, here goes the maths part, we're going to have to use the inverse, okay? So we have to divide it by 0.65, okay? Interestingly, I have a business coach who works with me. He's out in the Middle East. He was doing some pricing yesterday, and we had a call, and he did exactly the same thing. So we're all guilty of it. So what I would suggest you do is if you are looking at your pricing, Claire's working it out. That's just fine, which is good. If you are doing your pricing, work it backwards, okay? Right? Work it out. Work out what that number actually is, and you'll then see that that is actually correct, okay? So we're taking the 35% from 1, which leaves us 0.65. So when you've got your answer, go back and do the calculation. That's the easiest way of doing it to confirm that your answer is right. And if I went back to our ChatGPT friend, it then tells me that that's the formula I should have been using. Okay. So even ChatGPT needs help from time to time, right? I'm sending this to ChatGPT to see if I can go and help them work on their calculations. Are we good with that? So that's misunderstood pricing, all right? It's simple to make it's simple to make a simple mistake. It's simple to make a mistake. Pricing is something that we're not necessarily comfortable with. And so we need to kind of look at that and think about that. The next area is around the subject of discounting. So many business owners I meet discount regularly, okay? And what happens when you discount? You destroy your profit margin, okay? And I'm going to talk you through and show you the impact that discounting can have on your business. And depending on your margin, if you were to discount by a mere 10%, you'd actually have to sell 50% more to break even. And this is the thing, we forget how important it is to make and break even, right? We try and sell quickly and discount in order to get the sale, but we're forgetting about what that actually does and how that erodes the profit that we could potentially have on that business. And if you're, as I said at the beginning, if you're running a business, you should be making a profit. Okay, so we're going back to our widget and we have a 30% profit margin. That means for everyone you make, you get £30 back for everyone that you sell. Okay, so our cost of goods sold is 70 pounds. Okay, so if you were to discount that widget by 10% and sell it for £90, the costs of goods, the costs of making that widget is the same. Okay, so you would now be making a £20 profit instead of £30. Yep. Which means we would have to sell 50% more widgets in order to do that. Now, you guys don't sell widgets. So how is this relevant to you? Well, it's relevant because as service providers, we often will discount to get the deal, to get the client on board, right? And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying that we need to be aware of the impact that that can have on our bottom line, all right? There will be some people in this room who will look at their numbers quite regularly because you love numbers, right? There'll be others in the room who won't look at their numbers at all. Under fear of death, they will not look at their numbers, right? They will almost outsource or abdicate responsibility to their accountant and say, you look after my numbers. Problem with accountants, and I love them to death, really, accountants are looking historically and they're looking back at things to keep you on the level when it comes to HMRC and to keep you compliant. They're not looking at what your margin should be or shouldn't be, right? That's our job as business owners. Yeah. So as you can see, right? If we had 100 widgets at £30, I'd need to sell 150 at 20. Yeah. So for a 10% discount, you now need to sell 50% more just to break even. Okay. But let's be honest. If you go down the high street or you go onto any of these internet sites, people aren't offering 10% discounts. They're offering 30, 40, 50% discounts. So you think of what that's doing right now. As I said, this is in an ideal world, right? If you're running a business and you've got stock that needs to be shifted because it has a sell by date on it, or a use by date or a best before date, then actually, yes, I need to shift it because otherwise it's going to be dead stock. So there are exceptions to this. But my point here is think about discounting and think about what impact that can have on your business. But here's the thing. We can turn this around to our advantage. Okay? If we increase the price of the widget by 10% and sell it for £110, the cost of that widget is still the same. The cost of your hour is still the same, right? As a business owner in a service industry, our cost of our hour is £500, is £200, whatever it is. Well, if I can now sell it for £210 or £250, that extra bit is ours. It goes straight to the bottom line. It doesn't go anywhere else, apart from the tax man, potentially. But so as you can see, you're now making £40 in profit, and that's a 33% increase in profit from a 10% price increase. So let's all go off and increase our prices, right? What I would say to you around price increases is look at it, but think about what impact it could have on your business and test it, okay? Your mobile phone companies, because all of us now have mobile phones, they increase the price every year. Bar none, the price goes up. We have a choice. We can walk away. Typically, we don't because it's just more convenient. It's easier, right? So in that instance, value, okay, is more important than price, right? So we decide to stay with our mobile phone provider because the value that they provide is more important than the price that they've now changed or increased. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that's what we need to be thinking about in our businesses is What value are we offering? And if we're offering value, then we can command the price that we want, right? We're not at the whim and the mercy of the market where we're in a race to the bottom. Because if Chloe and I were both business consultants, and Chloe went, well, I need to get some more business, so I'm going to lower my price by 10 or 50 or 100. And then I respond and lower mine by 150 or 200. We're going to be in a race to the bottom. And guess what? Neither of us will be around in a year's time. And that's the thing. We think, okay, that people are price conscious because when we go and buy something, a commodity item, we're worried about price. I talk about light bulbs a lot because obviously there are lots of bulbs around me at the moment. But when we go out to buy a bulb, we are looking typically at, yes, it might be warm, it might be glow, it might be pearl, it may be incandescent, it might be LED, it might be LCD. I don't really care what it is. It just needs to light up the place that I have, and it needs to fit where it needs to fit. And if you go on Amazon, it will say it's 10,000 hours and it's 20,000 hours. And you sit there going, well, I'm not going to measure it, am I? So, right? But we're going to be typically looking at light bulbs on a price basis because there's nothing between them. Okay? What we do collectively in this room is not a commodity service. None of us are delivering a commodity service. Okay? So those of you who have been running a business for a little bit longer than Chloe, who's just starting out, when did you last increase your prices? Okay? And if you haven't, why haven't you? Because everything else has gone up, right? Energy, rates, utilities, the whole lot has gone up. Everything has gone up. So what is our fear? And our fear is that we're going to lose out and we're going to lose clients, okay? But because of the way price and the impact it has on our bottom line is, we can afford to lose some clients. And what you'll find is, and I've done this, the clients that you lose who are price sensitive are typically the most annoying clients that you have. All right? Because they are there solely on price. They don't care about what you're delivering for them. They're there because of the price. Okay? And when they, precisely, yeah. And they are a drain on your business, right? If you have a sales team or a customer service desk, you ask them who's the ones who call you up the most. It's the ones who pay the least. They think they have a right to complain because they believe they've bought a commodity. Okay. So what do we need to do around increasing our profit? We've got to create more value through innovation. And if we innovate, we can offer more value than our competition. Okay. Which means then increasing our pricing feels more in line with us, right? Because now we've innovated and we've improved what we're delivering. But here's the thing. A lot of people don't know what you're doing. Okay. This is where marketing comes into it, right? Who are you? Why are you doing what you do? How effective are we at telling the people out there in the marketplace? Or are you all the world's best kept secret? So let's take a look at a case study. So today will be case studies, theory and a bit of case studies. I want you to be looking at the case studies regardless of whether you're in the restaurant industry or any of the industries I cover, but think how that could apply to your business. And let's talk about innovation versus discounting. So we have a restaurant A. It offers a 25% discount on your favorite £60 meal for 2 people. Okay. And I have restaurant B that has got the same meal at the same price. Now, this is unlikely, but let's go with me here. Okay. But they include a bottle of wine and a dessert for each of you for free. So who would you pick? When we did this workshop a few weeks ago, someone said, well, I don't drink and I don't like dessert. So I'm going to go with this one. And that's fine. We all have that choice. But this example is to show you what the implications are for that business. Okay, so we're going to do a bit of maths again. If I've got my £60 meal and 25% off, it means I'm saving £15, yes? The second restaurant, the bottle of wine is £25 and each dessert is listed at £6 each. Okay, that's on the menu, right? So the perception is we're getting a lot more here in the other restaurant. Okay, so you perceive that you're saving £37 instead of saving 15. Okay. But if I'm the restaurant and the bottle of wine costs me £8 wholesale and the desserts are £1 wholesale, well, if we look at some numbers, you can see that the cost in restaurant B of these freebies is only £9. The discounted cost in restaurant A is £15. Okay. So the perceived value to the customer is £15 versus 37, right? But my profit in restaurant B is £21 versus £15. Now, I'm not saying which one you need to pick, right? But if I'm the restaurateur in this example, guess what? I'm going to be doing this every day as much as I can to encourage people to come in, right? To get that perception until such point as everyone goes, I don't drink anymore and I don't like desserts, in which case I'd have to innovate and come up with something different. Okay. And as you can see, second restaurant only spent £9 and created a perception to the customer that they were receiving much more value for their money. Okay. There's my percentages, a 247% increase. Okay. And in that instance, both the restaurant and the customer comes away as winners because I've now got wine and I've got dessert, assuming I want wine and desserts, right? And this leads on to the next area that we talk about, which is around market dominating position. So how do you stand out in your marketplace? You will all be familiar with USP, right? Your unique selling proposition, okay? What I talk about and what we talk about is around market. How do you dominate your marketplace? Why do I need to know who you are and how do you stand out in and around that whole world of what you do? Okay. The world has become a very small place as a result of the internet. Yeah. Fortunately for some of us who have to be there in person to deliver the service, right? You can't necessarily do this online. Whereas, as you know, I have clients around the world that can work with me. The point here is the market dominating position is how you stand out in your particular area. Okay. And what is it about you? So we need to be thinking about that and thinking about what our innovation looks like. And then we need to be shouting about that innovation so that we stand apart. I'll tell you this. I had a call with a guy in Dubai. He ran a marketing, e-commerce, digital marketing agency. And at the beginning of our conversation, I said, okay, why should anyone buy from you? And this was on Zoom, and he looked at me and went, I don't know. And I said, what do you mean you don't know? I said, you've got to know, there's got to be something about you. He went, there's nothing. We're just the same as everyone else. I went, oh. I said, how is business? He said, it's not very good. I went, well, that's probably why. We need to stand out. We need to stand out and we need to see what we can do differently. So think about it. We don't have to be the same as everybody else, right? We all get tarred with the same brush otherwise. And in which case, if we're all the same as everybody else, guess what? Price is the only differentiator, okay? So, increased pricing. As I've touched on, most businesses have never, ever raised their prices, okay? And they're worried that if they do increase their prices, they're going to lose clients, okay? So let's do some maths, because don't just take my word for it, right? So if you sold a widget for £100 with a cost of good of 70 and increased the price by 10% to 110, would that small increase really lead to a loss of customers? Okay. A few might leave, but the most important thing for us is how much value do we get by selling at that higher price and how many can we afford to leave? Right? I had a client who I worked with. Let's say they had 100 customers. They were looking to increase their prices by 5%. When I asked the business owner, how many people do you think you would lose out of your 100? He said, maybe 5, maybe 6 people. I said, great. We did the maths, put it into my simulator or my software, and it said you could afford to lose 20 clients to make the same amount of money. Is that going to happen? Well, if you're doing a good job, there's no way that 1 in 5 people are going to leave you, right? And that automatically becomes profit. So I've got my 33% profit. So if I was at £100, I would need to sell 33.3 widgets to get £1,000 in profit. Yeah. But now that I've increased my price by 10%, I need to sell 25 widgets, right? So even in our world of service and services, if our hourly rate goes up, that increase comes straight to our bottom line. Okay, there you go. The business would have to lose 25% of its customers over a 10% price increase, and that's not going to happen. Okay. Now, there is a way of doing this. I'm not suggesting that you will go out tonight and raise your prices by 20% and then call me up tomorrow saying I've lost all my customers. We have to test it out and we have to work it out, but it has to be done in conjunction with all of the other areas that we talk about.